Or dirt. Or dog food cakes.
Well, dirt's okay. Dirt, dirt is the earth.
What do you mean dirt's okay?
All right, we're going into the game. Let's go. Maybe don't eat dirt too. Maybe, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good disclaimer to throw out there. Maybe don't eat dirt. JDoza 2021.
Best quotes ever. All right, so we got Discard versus Anivia. Seeing so much Anivia.
I can't wait for them to be like, the World Championship's coming up. Which casters are we going to get? What about those Boulevard and JDoza guy? And then someone just sends them that clip. And they're like, these two?
Confirmed.
Argued about dog food and dirt for 5 minutes on the stream.
Confirmed JDoza eats dirt. We actually cannot work with anybody that eats dirt. So, sorry. It's bad for PR.
Just don't wear a shirt on stream that says I eat dirt, and I'm sure it'll be fine.
No, I'm wearing a Dragon Ball Z shirt because it's a good anime.
Yeah, someone in chat actually earlier was asking if you were wearing that because I said Dragon Ball sucks.
Basically, yes, just to prove you wrong. I don't know how that proves you wrong, but
I was about to say, I don't know how putting on a t-shirt of it implies that I was wrong in any capacity, but whatever you got to do, Dirt Eater.
That's gonna be my new. If anybody subs to this channel, that's what I'm gonna do now. It's gonna be like the Dirt Eater squad. That's gonna be
some dirt. And a Vile Feast top deck comes just a smidge too late. This is risky. I would have Withering Wailed there because Torek is gonna have the attack, sort of the first priority sequence on turn 4 to throw down a crowd favorite, which they actually don't do. And Torek is allowed to just follow up with the Withering Wail. So now we have lost a lot of value from the crowd favorite. I'm a little surprised Torek didn't slam that there. Say, hey, look, no board wipe came out. Let me try and get my big guy down in case there is a board wipe that comes out now.
Yeah, you got to take that opportunity. I mean, because that's one thing that any deck playing against discard aggro, you have to be aware of. Turn 4, that's when big boy crowd favor comes down. You need to play around that. Gravetrayal did a great job of getting everything off the board. And now the vision to really shove it down Torek's throat and say, you're really going to regret not getting this crowd favorite down because now we don't have a wide board to use this vision with either.
No, and we've kind of got to just throw down the units that we can set up for that augmented on the following turn. We can actually just level Jinx this turn if we want to. Use an Axe and a Rummage, and that'll get it done.
Yeah, this is, when we look at the hands that you want as a discard aggro player, this is not necessarily it. You have the augmented experimenter to kind of, okay, let's reset and get things back on track, but you would have already wanted to push through damage by this point, and we haven't. That's
kind of what I'm trying to figure out here with this augmented experimenter is, yes, you could have leveled the Jinx last turn, but what does that do for you against a Niv?
Yep.
You're not going to sit here and consistently get rockets while this Jinx sits on board forever. It's probably better to just play it as a 4-attack quick attacker that is immune to Avalanche, at least in the base sense. 2 damage not going to be enough to take it out, and just hang on to that augmented for a little bit of refuel later on. Now you have to have the consideration of, okay, we're on to Ruination mana. Can I get a little bit wet and wild? Can I throw out a few units, bait out that Ruination, and then play a big follow-up? And the answer is no, because you don't have a big follow-up. Your crowd favorite that you failed to play earlier is the only thing that would be coming down in an impactful manner, and that won't come that doesn't do anything after Ruination's played. It's a 2-1.
So there is no Ruination in the hand of Gravetrayal, and I've
just been looking at Harrowing like it's a Ruination.
Probably. I do that all the time.
I do that sometimes.
I literally do it all the time. But you still have to play around it though, right? So you're not wrong. But with how Torek's hand has gone, we're already on turn 6, you've dealt 0 damage. There might be the consideration to not play around Ruination, and I think that's what Torek is going for. And if that's what Torek goes for, there's also no Avalanches in hand.
Oh. We're actually just showing our hand as well that there is no Ruination as we Vile Feast one of these pre-combats so we can develop another blocker. I'm still trying to figure out what Torek was playing around on turn 4 by open attacking rather than developing this crowd favorite.
Avalanche, maybe?
I guess.
But
that doesn't play around Avalanche. You still push as much damage by attacking with the crowd favorite as you did with the 3 other units.
Yep, no, I agree. But, hey, it might have paid off now.
Yeah, it works out in a weird roundabout way.
This is still a very big crowd favorite that will stick around. This is still a decent amount of damage coming through. We could even vision everything if we want, which, I don't know. I don't think you can afford to get rid of your augmented experimenter, but you do level Jinx.
Well, you could also just cast vision.
You could also just cast vision. Okay.
And then go for the augmented next turn to draw 3 instead of 2.
So Archer does shut down the Jinx, though.
We even have Flash Freeze for the crowd favorite.
So things looking okay for Gravetrayal. Might not have the Ruination of the Avalanche, but has the tools to stave off this entire turn of aggression.
And we have the Anivia. So that's going to clean up the crowd favorite and the Poro on the following turn. And the augmented experimenter not going to be enough to kill the Anivia in order to ensure that the attack doesn't go through, but it looks like we are just going to level the Jinx, toss the augmented aside, and say, can I get a rocket? If you draw a Poro cannon, you can, but we get a Rummage and a Draven.
Okay. I mean, Rummage, not terrible, because we can hopefully get another rocket. It would have been nice if we had another mana here. Actually, that's a big deal. This is a very big deal that Rummage costs 2 now instead of 1 right here.
Yeah. The other thing is that, at the moment, Gravetrayal doesn't actually have an answer for this Jinx. Has no way to kill this thing.
Yeah. It's even the Anivia attacking. Not going to be enough to do it. Going to entreat and get the Harsh Winds, essentially, out of the deck. And also, I mean, technically also thins the deck, which is good if we are trying to look for something like a Blighted Ravine or a Avalanche or a way to remove Jinx. There's another Jinx off the top, which is essentially a Get Excited. There's 2 Get Exciteds. This is a dangerous hand, Boulevard.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage coming in.
Uh-oh. If we set up for a good open attack, we might be onto something here. I don't know. We can technically get a rocket, but it's awkward.
It's so awkward to get a rocket and play it.
Yeah.
That I don't mind just kind of having Jinx sit here as like a, hey, I'm here to draw 2 cards a turn.
Yeah.
That's not bad. I don't think you need to be forcing rockets from this position, and I think that if you were to force a rocket, it would involve just discarding a Get Excited.
Yeah, and I don't think you want to do that. I think you're okay with waiting another turn to get a rocket, because especially if you know, I mean, you can kind of assume with only 4 mana left that you're keeping your Jinx, and if that's the case, I think you say, okay, I'm going to use 1 Get Excited, discard the Axe. I have another one in my second Jinx. I'll draw 2 more cards, and then next turn when I have a lot of mana, then I could try to go for the rocket. And honestly, with your opponent being at 12, if you throw the Get Excited face, I mean, you're very close to having lethal.
Yeah, we might actually just have like a burn lethal out of Torek here with all these Get Exciteds on top with getting the rockets. Probably not this turn, but for every foreseeable turn from here on out. We might even just see one of the Get Exciteds get fired off now to play mana efficiently.
Yeah, this is really unfortunate for Gravetrayal, just not finding the removal Boulevard. I mean, we have Glimpse Beyond. I think we might need to play it just to continue to try to find something.
If we were gonna glimpse, we would have glimpsed the Anivia, right?
Yeah.
So Gravetrayal saying, I actually don't want to play that this turn. It's more important to me that I carry that 1 mana into the next turn, which sounds wildly incorrect.
Yeah.
Given your hand, what are you doing with that 1 additional mana on the next turn? You're going to be at 11 instead of 10, which gives you access to nothing that you didn't have before from what I'm seeing.
Harsh, if you top deck an Avalanche, you get... No, because 6 plus 4 is 10, so I can do math.
Yeah. There you go.
Oh, I'm getting better every time we cast.
Instead of drawing 2 cards, you're going to be at 11 mana instead of 10. Unless we were saving this Glimpse Beyond to dodge something, but that's like, this isn't the kind of matchup where you're looking to like dodge lifesteal or there's a double up coming out that I need to avoid. So not sure why Gravetrayal decided that he didn't need more cards when his hand is so lackluster already, but it's the decision that's been made. It's locked in, and now Torek really debating, do I want to cast this Get Excited now for the mana efficiency? And the answer is yes.
Yeah, I mean, mana efficiency Boulevard. This is the game plan. This is the deck. Forget mana efficiency. I'm trying to go for the win next turn, and I think we might be able to. Depends. I mean, we have at least 7 damage in hand if we can get a rocket. There's survival skills, which is not a bad discard at all. We actually
probably just going to be a double block from Gravetrayal. You've got the Anivia in the pool. You can start rekindling. Doing some cool stuff like that. And you can actually get multiple Anivias thanks to the Gluttony.
And if this works out, if we get an Axe, unless we get a Flash Freeze here. Okay, actually, we're going to go with the Rummage now. We get another Get Excited.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
but this is going to let us pull the Ice Veil Archer out of the way, which seems like the weirder one to pull unless we are very specifically playing around Frostbite, which makes sense, even though the Jinx is already survival skilled for the turn.
I don't know if I like that rummage.
I don't mind it.
But we're still missing out on a
payout.
rocket again.
No, we're not. You just play House Spider and get excited to get excited.
Yeah, but now you're forced to. So it's the same situation last turn where we have to awkwardly discard to get excited, and I don't necessarily love that.
Well, I think the plan was we were going to get an axe. We didn't expect our Draven to get frostbitten, so we thought we would actually be able to double get excited with the axe.
Gotcha. Okay. Yep. Yeah. Which actually, what I was thinking before, anyways, involved an axe. So it's just a different roundabout way of going about it, and that's why I think Gravetrayal, honestly, that flash freeze on the Draven, I think is really smart.
This turn though, I could see like forego the rocket, just play the House Spider and just double get excited rocket next turn. It's not quite lethal. Maybe it is better to use the get excited now, get the rocket, and then see if you can top deck a rocket next turn, but that's still just shy of lethal. So it's kind of like an awkward hand for Torek, just drawing more get exciteds than you really want to and not having the discard fodder for them. But it looks like we are going to throw it out onto the Anivia, which will now die to the rocket to ensure that we don't get that one damage push through on the next turn.
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting way to go about it. It's always questionable. Like I definitely understand getting rid of the Anivia, but it's always questionable as an aggro player not sending things to the face.
Well, the rocket's going face. It's even got a little face on it. What more do you want?
I mean, there could be 3 more going to face, so they could be at 5. So it's and it's hard from an aggro player's perspective to even want to get excited a unit, because then you might regret it at the end of the game. You're gonna be like, man, if only I had that 3 more damage. Which, not for nothing, there's a Catalyst of Aeons in hand. That's 3. I mean, there's another get excited.
The 5th get excited top deck,
That's
I think,
insane.
is the only line where the throwing the get excited at face instead of the Anivia really mattered. So it is a little bit wild that Torek has just continued to draw this card turn after turn.
That's insane. We get another rocket though.
Yeah, but it's not lethal because we tried to kill an Anivia.
Yep. I'm just saying. Well, it's also, it wouldn't have been lethal anyways, even with the second one, because of the Catalyst of Aeons. Because
you would have been responding to a harrowing.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yep.
Because now you lose the entire board, which is what we were trying. Well, actually, you don't lose the Anivia or the Jinx rather, which is really important.
Yes.
And that's why we had initially killed the Anivia, to ensure that there wasn't like an Anivia attack followed by an avalanche to make sure that our Jinx was going to die. So it looks like GK Torek should still be getting this one.
Yeah, and I don't see any way on board to kill this Jinx. This, you were talking, I remember at the very beginning of the game, you're like, there's never a world where Jinx just sits on board the entire game. And listen, I agree with that sentiment, okay? But Jinx has sat on board. Yeah, but Jinx has sat on board all freaking game.
Speak a little hyperbolic to be a little flashy. Never means most of the time. Always means most of the time. And this Jinx is going to probably pick up the win for Torek. Now, there are universes where it doesn't work out. If Torek draws, say, 2 units and Gravetrayal finally picks up an answer for the Jinx, then we will not be able to establish a rocket. We will have all of these Anivias on board and probably not take any unit damage for the remainder of the game. So Torek is not out of the woods yet. One thing worth noting, though, is that even though they have drawn like 4 get exciteds this game, 2 of them were Jinxes, which means there's still like 4 get exciteds in the deck.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Yep. It's, I cannot believe the draws that Torek has actually come to this game. That many get exciteds just never happens, but it's basically like a discard player's dream to get that many against a deck like this, where you need the damage and you need to have it fast. Let's see what we get. That's a jury rig. That's a good sign. There's a level up animation for Anivia while we wait for the second card. And that is perfect. We got it.
Yeah.
We got it. Zonite. Yep. Discard. Get another jury rig off the top. Play the rocket. And not enough heal from the Catalyst, unfortunately, unless we get something else.
Yeah, I mean, there is, something like a Vile Feast can still save us.
Vile Feast?
It'll save us at 1. That's not it. And that's also not it. Man, Gravetrayal.
No.
Unable to find any of the...
Anything.
We had a really early Withering Wail, and past that, nothing.
Yeah,
no board wipes, no life gain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and actually the fact that Anivia even made it this far with that much of nothing is pretty crazy. The The other thing, though, I mean, Torek by no means had a great opener either. They were kind of honestly
Torek
not looking
played a
great.
turn 4 Jinx.
Yeah, well, yeah, but we also didn't think that would live long. So that combined with Gravetrayal not getting the removal,
there was certainly a world where like I feel like if both of these players ran average, or if Gravetrayal just had like not run one of the worst hands conceivable with Anivia, probably would have been able to pick this one up. Especially, well, I mean, it's kind of hard to say, right? Because Torek did draw a lot of Jinxes later on, so even if the first one died, we probably would have drawn Jinx 2 and 3 not too long after, and one of those probably would have been able to stick around. There's a finite amount of removal in this Anivia deck, but that's all dust in the wind, as is Gravetrail's life total, as Torek going to pick up game number 1 with discard aggro over Anivia, and now you get to see how the other deck fares into potentially Spooky Karma. But if Anivia wasn't banned, I would assume that Spooky was the ban.
Wow. So impressive discard showing from Torek there. This is Anivia, Anivia's been doing pretty good. And honestly, like you mentioned, I think that should have been Anivia's game, generally speaking, but unfortunately just not really getting the draws there. So we'll see if Gravetrayal can bring it back here from 1 game down, bring it to game 3, and still give Anivia a shot to have yet another deck in the finals. I mean, if What Am I is able to make it to the finals, they're playing Anivia as well. Gravetrayal. Ooh, see if we got it.
JDoza, you just had to imply that What Am I was going to make it to the finals.
Oh, no, I didn't imply that. I didn't imply that.
Not only that, but hitting the refresh button, I now see that Makis has already defeated What Am I.
Oh, my God, no. It was not me. No,
right after
that
you
is
said
bull.
It, and
no,
it's already done.
No,
I can't believe you've done this to What Am I. You mention it one time, and he's already gone.
No, that already happened. That happened before I said that. That happened before I said that. Guardia, I'm going to say it. I'm leading up to it. More dope. We go. Thanks, Guardia.
What's always really fun to me is just like turning the volume all the way down and then watching your audio levels spike.
Oh, my God.
And you've been... Nope, not saved. Torek is not the one with Spooky Karma, it is Gravetrayal, so running back the Anivia. So, man, we could be here for quite some time if Gravetrayal picks up the win with the Anivia and then has to play Spooky Karma, but like I mentioned earlier, I'm pretty sure that's not going to be the case.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. So what about this matchup? I do think that TF, I don't know. Again, if we draw, we have the Avalanche early on. We already see it in the hand of Gravetrayal. I think Gravetrayal has a pretty good shot at being able to take this one home. I guess it's just whether or not Torek can get the, Leviathan Swain combo established.
No. Screw Leviathan. We got City Breaker. For Anivia to kill a City Breaker?
Pretty hard. And actually, City Breaker's got 1 attack now, right? Yeah, look at that.
It's only a 1 of. I went to check to see if like this is the just the wild. We play 3 City Breakers here kind of deck, but I mean that is going to add up over time onto Gravetrayal.
City Breaker, the OP. There's a juicy Avalanche field though, so again we might be seeing an Avalanche. I don't imagine Torek develops anything else into an Avalanche. Quite risky. And I don't know if Gravetrayal actually, so Gravetrayal not wanting to commit anything for the Avalanche yet, because, I mean, it just doesn't really seem like quite a lot of value just killing a House Spider, a Spiderling, and yeah. So now I think you're okay with Avalanche, maybe? That's still hard.
This is a kind of scary open attack.
Yeah.
It's a lot more damage than I think you need to be taking, but at the same time, like, Avalanche is so good against TF Swain. There are so many 2 HP units in this deck that, like, a House Spider and a Fortune Croaker does not seem like the most amount of value that you're going to get out of this. You can probably choke it out for a little bit more. You're not taking, like, a wild amount of damage in the meantime. I think it's okay to hold it back. Or maybe you just go in for the attack, see what happens, and now you kind of reconsider based on your top deck and say, I'll Avalanche.
All right. I was gonna say with the Vile Feast, maybe you just play Vile Feast now. I mean, you kill that House Spider, then you have a blocker. That seems like a pretty good deal there. But nope, still going with the Avalanche. Take it where we can get it. And honestly, I don't know if I love that. I mean, that is a really big tool. That now we're just down, and we still have a Dreadway and an Arachnoid Sentry in the hand of Torek. I would have really liked to see that Vile Feast come out.
You know what I'm thinking of now, Doza? Back in the heyday of Anivia, We would cast it quite a bit. And I think it was random 7HS that would constantly bring Anivia to a tournament. And I was like, let me tell you, you will run into a significant problem where you just never draw Anivia. And that was something that was happening to a lot of Anivia players, where they would just not draw the Anivia. It was like Lee Sin, right? Where even though you're playing all these entreats and all this draw power, you're just not finding it until it's way too late. And Gravetrayal, I think this is the first time over the course of this weekend where we have not seen an Anivia by turn 6 for one of these players. So now, you know, we kind of go back into that Lee Sin mentality of like, you need to draw the champion. You have one win condition.
Yep. Yeah, and I don't think it's as prevalent. It doesn't matter as much for Anivia that it does for Lee Sin. I think it's much easier for Anivia to kind of stall out the game a little bit more, because Lee Sin, you also kind of have to draw Eye of the Dragon if you're going to do that. But yeah, I get what you're getting at. I do agree. There's no Anivias yet for Gravetrayal, and also sitting on that Rekindler, it's going to feel bad, harrowing, bad. You know, these are all dead cards until, you know, we finally find the Anivia. And now it's definitely going to feel bad that we use the Avalanche too. I mean, if we use the Sentry at some point as well, that's another unit going in for an attack there. You know, Torek is going to have to play around Ruination. Well, let's see if we commit something else or if we just take the pass. Yeah, there's the pass, and this is probably going to be an attack here.
You want to know something a little wild about Gravetrayal, JDoza?
What?
Gravetrayal has the absolute coconuts to bring 2 control decks and not play Ruination in either of them.
That is insane. That blows my mind, actually.
No Ruination in Anivia, no Ruination in Spooky Karma. Said, you know what? This card sucks. It costs 9 mana.
What?
It costs 9 mana? Harrowing. That's the only thing I want to be doing for 9 mana, and just does not have these cards at all.
And this Arachnoid Sentry makes so much more sense then. This is such an easy decision. I mean, or maybe not super easy, but even Avalanche doesn't... Like, Avalanche, you still have a really good open attack. Or, well, an attack after the Avalanche. I just default to saying open attack. You still have Swain. You're only losing, you know, the Keg, the Dreadway, and the Arachnid Sentry. I think you're okay with that. Wow. That is really risky to not be playing that. That's insane to me. All right, there's the Vengeance.
In a tournament setting, like, having the information that it is nowhere in the deck means that you never have to respect it, and you get to do wild things like this, and it just completely changes your play style against decks like this. Which, I mean, Gravetrayal made it to the top 8, playing against opponents that knew that there was no Ruination. It hasn't caught up to them yet. They've made it into the top 4. It might not catch up with them now, but they do need to find an Anivia. And it's not looking great. We don't have any draw power. We have a dead Harrowing and a dead Rekindler. Catalyst really not doing a whole lot for us at this stage of the game.
Little different of a build, right? I mean, we haven't really seen Box too much. We also haven't seen...
Catalyst is actually something that has been completely absent from every other list.
Catalyst hasn't been in anything. Also 2 Vengeance. I would have expected maybe 3 because there's no Ruination, but only 2. Wow. All right. Well, good on Gravetrayal. I mean, made a call. It seems to be working out so far. I mean, we are in the semifinals talking about Gravetrayal's deck, so we'll see if they can make it through another round.
City Breakers dealt like 8 damage.
Yeah.
Not 8, but I think it has actually dealt 5 or 4. I don't know if it got an attack off, but we do find the Anivia, and that really opens the floodgates for Gravetrayal to start and find a way to take over this game. And no Leviathan for Torek here on turn number 8.
Well, we are going to be able to kill the Anivia really quick with something like this Make It Rain if we go that route.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. We do have
There's a Rekindler in Gravetrayal's hand. They have a Harrowing. They were really hoping that this Anivia was going to die.
And, you know, Torek just really struggling to push through enough damage. You know, we just can't go wide enough on board. I mean, we did go pretty wide last turn, eventually getting the board wiped there. I mean, we see 2 more Vile Feasts in the hand of Gravetrayal. Vile Feast probably going to be played this turn, I imagine, to finally get rid of City Breaker. All right, wow, just willing to bank the mana, and gonna get a little bit rewarded not playing the Vile Feast yet because of the Make It Rain. So I imagine that's why Gravetrayal did not play it yet. And yep, there it is. So good play on Gravetrayal, playing around that Make It Rain.
Yeah, I think you were really expecting that, like, there's no way that Torek's just letting me take this Anivia into the next turn, right? I don't think this City Breaker is something that is so worth protecting that you were monster harpooning my Anivia in order to make sure that I couldn't attack and kill it. So makes sense that you waited out until all of the resources have been expended. The Anivia dies, and now you feel safe to go for the Vile Feast. And now, as you had mentioned, Torek going to have another really difficult time pushing through any amount of damage here. Even if we get the Swain down, that's just going to be a Rekindler reviving an Anivia. That's 2 fearsome blockers.
Yeah, it's not looking good for Torek. I think this is where we just kind of run out of steam. And like you mentioned, there's no Leviathan. Like, the only way you win from this point is if you already had a Leviathan on the board. We still haven't found it. We do have Whispered Words, so maybe we're able to draw into it by the next turn, but I think it's going to be a day late and a dollar short, Boulevard. We already got Rekindler coming down, summoning yet another Anivia, and Harrowing on backup there. No way for Torek to deal with Harrowing. This isn't Ionia. There's no denies. There's no way to prevent all those Anivias from hitting the board.
Well, Torek can push through some damage this turn. Death's Hand onto the Anivia will stun the Rekindler, and then you can flock to finish off the Anivia. And then the Swain attack will actually wipe the egg as well. But that doesn't deal with the Harrowing on the next turn, which is like sort of the big pressure point right now. Like, you can push through damage. You're not pushing through lethal damage. And it's really all you can do. Your other unit's not going to be able to do anything either, as they will get sort of ghost blocked by the dying egg and the Spiderling. And from there, you know, you've got Torek down, or you've got Gravetrayal down to 6, but there's not a lot of over the top in TF Swain these days. Without the Noxian Fervor, you don't have a lot of direct damage.
Yeah, and I think that's going to kind of play against Torek here. You know, again, we're kind of in a meta where, you know, Noxian Fervor, not really a good choice right now anyways. In this deck, though, would be
that was like
good.
the one way that you don't get to hit your opponent with Swain this turn.
Oh, yeah.
Why would you ever Death's Hand a Spiderling?
I mean, does it push more damage overall?
No, because you can't. The most damage that you can get is if you can connect with Swain.
Yeah, and that would be Death's Hand the Anivia, and then
and then flock it.
What?
So, I mean, if you were gonna do that to the Spiderling, I thought it would have been like Make It Rain, so that we can ideally like hit the Spiderling, hit face and stun something, and damage the other one, so I can flock it. There were a lot of plays that Torek had this turn. That one, doesn't make any sense to me.
I mean, this forces the block on the Anivia. I don't know if that.
Cool.
Matters.
What does that mean?
Yeah, I don't think it means anything. Because we also can't kill the Anivia after the fact.
Yeah, I don't see this as forcing a block onto the Anivia. I see this as pushing damage onto my Swain.
Yeah, that is definitely a questionable decision made there from Torek. We are going to push 4 damage, but like you said, I don't think pushing 4 damage is enough right now. There's no Noxian Fervors. We could have pushed
even
7.
If all of this had worked out, there's still the Flash Freeze in Gravetrayal's hand. The Swain attack actually wouldn't have worked out.
Man.
But I am a little lost on what we're doing here.
Maybe Torek just 10-headed playing around the Flash Freeze. I mean, I don't think that necessarily plays around it, but we didn't see it from Gravetrayal. We did push 4 damage, so
yeah. Now we're gonna see what the Harrowing pulls out. The answer is not a lot. It was like 1 Anivia, some Ice Veil Archers, and an Avarosan Sentry. Really not what you want to be paying. I don't even think you get 9 mana worth of units out of this Harrowing. So we'll see what Gravetrayal wants to do on this turn. An open attack with the Anivia does kill everything, or at least like set up the Swain to die to a Withering Wail and a Vile Feast, as well as kill the Twisted Fate and the Crusty Codger. And if your Anivia gets blocked and trades onto the Swain or flocked or anything like that, it actually feels really good because it's just putting more into the death pool for the Harrowing.
Yeah, and I think, you know, Gravetrayal also with Withering Wail and Catalyst of Aeons, I mean, both of these are going to give us, you know, six more health combined, puts us at 13. I don't think there's a world where Torek actually has that much reach. We have the Fearsome blockers for Swain. That's probably never connecting from this point forward, for the most part.
It looks like we're going for Glimpse into Harrowing. This will get us another Anivia.
And 2 cards. So.
But, okay, gonna flock the Anivia. Make sure that we can't go for the attack with it, but you have to know that glimpsing the Rekindler like that is setting up for a Harrowing, right?
I mean, I'd hope so.
Well, we kill the Anivia.
Wow.
We say, what in the world is a harrowing? I've never heard of that card in my entire life.
I mean, I guess that's the only way Torek wins right now, right? Is if Gravetrayal doesn't have a harrowing. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the consideration.
Well,
so
I'm a little surprised that we didn't see like whispered words to start the turn. Draw a few cards,
See what you
evaluate what your options are, see if you can like find ways. Because Death's Hand's awkward, right? Because it doesn't stun the Anivias, it stuns the Rekindlers. But I don't know, weird play on the side of Torek, who actually isn't out of this. I would say, if we can find a Leviathan, we probably find enough reach off of that to actually kill Gravetrail. We're gonna need a little bit more. Because of the healing in Gravetrail's hand, but we're not dying this turn, so we do have a small window.
Yeah, we'll have one more turn to possibly get a Leviathan, but I don't know, Boulevard. I don't know if Leviathan's enough.
I don't think it's lining up correctly for the Leviathan to be able to do what you need it to do. We're even going down to 1 this turn.
Yeah, it's a little too low for my liking. I think Gravetrail has this all but wrapped up here. I think we are in limbo. Even with a Leviathan, there's too much heal in the hand of Gravetrail.
You would have needed to like start off the turn with Whispered Words, play the Leviathan this turn, and then draw another one next turn.
Yep.
Just a little bit too much that needed to go right for Torek, but that does mean that we're going to be going to game number 3, Doza.
Game 3, baby. This is where we love to see it in the semifinals and the finals. Love seeing those 3 series games. But you know what this also means, Boulevard? We're getting Spooky Karma.
Spooky Karma. There's no way Spooky Karma is the 3rd deck.
It better not be. Okay,
it's gonna be.
I'm blaming you.
You caster cursed. What am I? I'm allowed to caster curse lineup, and we're gonna have to watch Spooky Karma game.
And actually, I wouldn't mind seeing Ezreal Draven versus TF Swain. I feel like that's not a matchup we get to see too often. And here we go. We're gonna get the Whale and the Vile Fuse just to really make sure that we stay out of the range of any sort of reach from Torek. And I do believe, Boulevard, this open attack should end it here. I mean, is there a way?
Probably just going to throw out the Withering Wail here to say, kill the keg, show you that I have an insane life total. You can't possibly kill me. And no matter what Torek top decks, they're just going to die to the open attack of the Anivias. And we are going to get to see some sweet, sweet Ezreal Draven on TF Swain action. Not 2 decks that ever really existed in large capacities at the same time. It was like the end of the TF Swain era was around the beginning of the Ezreal Draven era.
Yep. Yeah, no, that's pretty accurate, and that's why I said, I mean, I'm really excited to see it. It's not something we've become accustomed to seeing. It's a matchup that doesn't happen often, and not only that, I mean, I wouldn't even call both of these decks the most popular decks right now. I mean, if you look at a lot of tier lists, they're not necessarily bad decks, but they aren't running rampant everywhere. You know, you see them sometimes on ladder, you see them sometimes in tournaments, and I think, again, that's just a tribute to the metagame that we're currently in. I mean, it's very diverse, and you know, there's a chance for almost any sort of deck to take it. You know what we haven't seen, Boulevard?
What haven't we seen?
Lurk.
I thought you were going to say Lulu Jinx.
Yeah, that too.
We had a Lurk in Top Cut, actually.
Do we have a Lurk in Top Cut?
Or not a Lurk in Top Cut, sorry. We had a Lurk in the X1 bracket.
Gotcha.
But
yeah, it's
actually make it Top Cut.
Not doing too hot right now, Lurk. Everybody thought it was pretty good on set release, and it's not necessarily bad. It's a pretty good aggro deck. Just not really seeing many people bring it this weekend. But here we go. You're right. No Spooky Karma. Thank the Lord. It's Ezreal Draven versus TF Swain. And from looking at the hands, I mean, Torek already off to a much better start seeing the Leviathan. We were completely missing Leviathan last game. Knowing that we have it going into turn 8, I think is going to be pretty crucial here, especially with Gravetrail playing something like Captain Farron. And actually, let me see. I want to see this Ezreal Draven list, right? Yeah, 1 Farron. So this is a pretty standard Ezreal Draven list. We do see the 2 Boom Baboon as kind of the newer card in there lately. 1 Culling Strike, 3 Ravenous Flock, 1 Scorched Earth, 2 Static Shock. So pretty standard build. 2 Zonai Urchin too. It's always a toss-up as to whether or not people are actually playing kind of the discard package with this.
Yeah, I mean, Rummage taking that mana nerf has made it so that players are trying to find their discard draw abilities in other more mana efficient ways, and usually that manifests itself in the way of Zonite Urchin. Seen Time Trick in the past as well.
Yeah.
Doesn't draw as much, doesn't utilize the discard, but does have a better chance at finding you exactly what you want. Tribeam Improbulator, usually the main focal point. Speaking of Gravetrayal, not having Tribeam Improbulator in the opening hand, which does mean that we're playing a really different game than if we had opened the card. It's going to be pretty difficult to actually kill the Swain once it does come down for Torek. Of course, don't have that in the hand just yet for them either.
All right, looks like we're going to line up some blocks here. Not sure if we're going to commit the Draven, maybe to the Spiderling here. If we do, it opens it up for it to be killed by Ravenous Flock, and that's probably the consideration that Gravetrayal is making. And yeah, looks like that's why we're going to line it up onto Betty, good old Betty Croker here, knowing that, hey, listen, might as well block the bigger unit. You either flock me or you don't, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see it. Or even make it rain, yeah.
Red card, but... yeah, it's one of those things where there are so many different kinds of removal available to TF Swain, and actually the Flock is going to be used anyway, straight away as well. Which, again, I think is weird. Why not wait for your opponent to attack next turn? Now they have the opportunity to play another Draven.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I think we've seen that a lot in not only the Swiss rounds, but in the top cut. I know we saw it with a Sivir earlier on in the top cut, or maybe it was the last round of Swiss, where I don't think people are considering the ramifications of killing a champion and somebody potentially having another copy of that champion in hand, because that does matter. They re-heal themselves. They get anything like a spell shield put back on them. It's actually pretty impactful.
Yeah, they're enter the battlefield ability goes off again. Another axe into the Draven player's hand. But we do pick up a Tribeam Improbulator for Gravetrayal, which is going to be really nice. We can start to stack that up as we do still have a couple of 3-cost cards in hand. And we'll be able to get many more rolling as we've got the Rummage available. This Ballistic Bot going to be able to get us a few more cards. Ballistic Bot's a card that I feel like has really fallen off. There was a time where this card was everywhere. It was in Ruben Pile. It was in TF Fizz. It was in Draven Ezreal. And now it's really only here.
All right, we're going in. Oh, Ruben's Pile. Didn't that somebody brought that to Fight Night, right?
Yes.
I
believe they got second or first. They made it to the finals with it. That much I remember.
Yeah, who was it? It was
why do you have that open?
Krios. I don't know. Do you know how many tabs I have open?
Have that tab like immediately. My roommate's like that. He's like 100 tabs open. I'm like, I close my browser every night. What are you doing?
No, it's like my brain. It's like constantly on. It's just, it's always working. But yeah, so Krios actually brought that to the NA Fight Night on Friday, doing pretty well with it, but not seeing that either throughout all of Swiss and then the top cut here. But Death's Hand onto the Sump Dredger. Honestly, Torek falling behind on cards a little bit here. Now, granted, one of the cards in Gravetrayal's hand is a axe, but Captain Farron gonna also provide a couple decimates when it finally comes down. We also have these ignitions coming out and a rummage to utilize, the ignition and the axe to get us 2 more cards. So things are looking really good for Gravetrayal, I think, right now. It's just really a matter of how impactful is this Leviathan Swain going to be when it comes down. And a Thermo Beam is a good way of dealing with something like that Leviathan.
There's this really awkward back and forth that Noxus control decks will have where you see games like what Torek is having right now, where you do a very poor job of hanging on to cards. Usually you'll sometimes, it usually starts off with you needing to throw 2 spells at a unit to remove it, be it like a Make It Rain and a Flock, or like a Death's Hand and anything else. You get what I'm going for. And then you have games like what Gravetrayal is going for here, where you just find all of your draw power alongside all of your 1-for-1 removal. You get that Rummage off, you find these Sump Dredgers and these Zonite Urchins, you turn fake cards into real cards, and your hand looks phenomenal, because we have seen Draven Ezreal have a similar problem to what Torek did, where you just, suddenly it's turn 7, you're down to 2 cards in hand and just praying for a fair and top deck to bail you out.
Yeah. Krusty Codger. I'm gonna take, I guess, put a little bit of damage onto the Ballistic Bot, set it up for something like Make It Rain. It's about most that we can ask for here. Not sure if I love this attack. We could have summoned Swain. Swain probably would have gotten killed by something, so I definitely understand not wanting to do that. But there's the Ravenous Flock, gonna actually save the damage on the Ballistic Bot, which I think is smart. That additional chip damage you're gonna get with the ignitions, I think, does matter. You know, we don't. I think we're only playing one copy of Rummage, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's the
Uh,
only copy.
yeah. So you know, we're not going to get any more value in terms of that. You know, maybe if we get some other Sump
We have
Dredgers or
we have
Zaw
a Get
Knights.
Excited in hand.
Yeah, there is a Get Excited. So, I don't hate that for sure. But there's a Swain. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I would have liked the Swain coming down pre-combat there, actually trying to get an attack off with it.
Yeah, we know that it wouldn't have worked thanks to the Arachnoid Sentry,
Mhm.
but kind of see how Gravetrail wants to play this one, because if they want to set up this Swain for an in-combat flock, they would have to actually get excited it right now. Mystic Shot, not going to be enough damage. Tri-Beam Improbulator only at 2 damage, and you really don't want a Thermo Beam here. You really want to be saving that Thermo Beam for the Leviathan, sort of as your big answer to that one. So it looks like there actually will be a successful open attack with this Swain from Torek on the... Oh, no, it's going into Gravetrail's attack turn.
Yeah.
Never mind, never mind.
Yeah, I think what Torek's just going for here is hoping that if Gravetrail lets this Swain stick around, then we're able to stick the Leviathan at some point next turn and then go into Torek's next attack turn, having everything stunned thanks to the Leviathan Swain combo. So I don't know if that's going to be realized, like you said, because of the Get Excited, you know, and the flock. At least being able to take care of that, or even for that matter, the Thermo Beam if the Leviathan comes out first and Gravetrail still has the 8 mana up to kill the Leviathan. So I think Gravetrail has this, as long as nothing ridiculous happens to allow that Leviathan combo.
Yeah, and Gravetrail can play into it, right? Like if you just slam down Captain Farron here because you say I'm the aggressor,
Yeah.
it's turn 8, I have Captain Farron, let me throw this down. Then you suddenly don't really have a great answer to the Swain Leviathan combo. Like, yeah, you can get excited the Swain at the end of the turn, you know, set it up for a flock, but you're still taking the 3 damage from the Leviathan. Your board is still getting stunned, so you're still taking an additional 5 from the Leviathan. Things start to get really dicey. So Gravetrail going for a pretty midline play, saying, yeah, you know, maybe I take my free 5 damage here. Ignition is
I don't
weird
like
because
that.
it does take you out of range for Thermogenic Beam onto Leviathan, but maybe we're just saying, hey, you know, I push 2 more damage this way, and I can still Thermo Beam the Swain.
I would have loved to see the attack there. I feel like it makes so much more sense. You attack, and now you force basically Torek into playing the Leviathan right into your 8 mana Thermo Beam. And now, yeah, now we get the Leviathan outside of Thermo Beam. I don't really like that ignition. I'm curious to see how Gravetrail continues to play this. I think now we just kind of have to kill the Swain. You have no choice. You cannot let this stay on board. So, and not only that, you use the ignition. Now you don't have the discard fodder for the Get Excited. That, I really don't like that ignition being played, but we are where we are, and hopefully Gravetrail can dig themselves out of this one.
Yeah, and worth noting that the Tri-Beam Improbulator is only at 3, so Tri-Beam Flock still not quite able to kill the Leviathan. There is no combination of cards outside of Get Excited, Mystic Shot, Flock that are going to kill this Leviathan this turn, but we do, as we mentioned, still have the kill onto the Swain lined up, but when Torek is playing a Leviathan to search for a Swain, and the Thermo Beam is your most useful answer to kill the Leviathan, like, you're setting yourself up into a weird position where now it's going to be hard to actually deal with this combo. So we're just going to push through as much damage as possible, it seems. 1 mana off the Tri-Beam, which would have been really nice to get down for damage purposes this turn.
Yeah, we do have Flock. Oh, no, wait. I thought we had... Never mind. I thought we had Scorched Earth, but that's on the side of Torek.
Yeah.
Wow. So this is just going to push more damage. This is dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, so we can still, like, Thermo Beam the Swain this turn to set it up for Flock next turn, but I think we're at a point where, with the way that Gravetrail's been playing this, I think we are really trying to save this Mystic Shot Get Excited to go face and just finish off Torek.
Yeah, I guess if you're taking... I guess if you calculated it out, yeah, sure, you might take a whole lot of damage next turn. You're at 17, so you're not going to die. If you think that this 9 damage push plus Farron plus Mystic plus Get Excited over the course of the next 2 turns is enough to close it out, then I guess it doesn't matter. There's no heal for Torek. After this 9 damage, Torek will be at 9. All you need is, that's just 1 Get Excited, 1 Decimate, and 1 Mystic Shot, which you will have mana for in 1 single turn.
It looks like we're actually going to use the Get Excited next turn to finish off the Swain. That's why we're flocking it now. Which does leave us with Captain Farron mana. So I think Gravetrail might still have this.
Yeah.
It's kind of a weirder line than we thought it would be, but everything is still working out according to plan. We have pushed enough damage to ensure that we have the burn to go through for lethal. And actually, we're just going to finish off with the flock and the thermo. Are we? Yeah, we are, right?
Yeah, much different roundabout way of finishing off this Swain. Gravetrayal, I mean, obviously having the foresight though to really calculate out. Yeah, there's you specifically had to play the sentry for all that math to work out, and seems like it did. I mean, yeah, like you said, we have the Farron mana this turn. We have another Swain in the hand of Torek, which could pose a problem. So we do have to deal with that somehow. Or maybe not. Maybe we don't. Maybe we just play Farron. We say, great, stun my units. I have plenty of bird damage.
Yeah, there's no way that Gravetrayal on 4 mana is going to be able to stun 4 units, right? The fact that you have everything already established as a blocker for the Swain, but we're going to start off with a Thermo Beam, which I think is up to 5?
5, yep. And that's also going to put it in range of Mystic Shot to die.
Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting, this matchup already. As you can tell, you know, for anybody watching, you know, we have a lot of lines that myself and Boulevard are going through, and a lot of lines that apparently the players are taking completely different from what we're saying. There is a lot of different ways to go about every single interaction and choice in this game. And I think this is, for that reason, I think this is a really interesting matchup. I think there's a lot of decision making that needs to be done in Draven Ezreal versus TF Swain. I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, and it looks like Torek gonna go in for the push with the Leviathan as well, saying, all right, you've got some kind of plan going on here. I have been powerless to stop it thus far. I'm just going to try and push through as much damage as I possibly can, which is not enough at the start of the round. We are just going to have an evening up of the life totals. But there's nothing that Torek's going to be able to do to really stave off this aggression further. We can play the Captain Farron. Yeah, you can stun that out, but that means that unless you draw your 3rd Swain, I'm not really in danger of dying on the following turn, and I still have, you know, my Decimates and all my burn in hand. We might even just see an open attack out of Gravetrayal. And if one thing connects, we have lethal with the Get Excited Mystic Shot. Yeah,
and it's something to note, too. I mean, this ignition, all these ignitions from this Ballistic Bot sitting on field for most of the game, I mean, they matter. I mean, the extra damage is really coming in clutch, not to mention the card generation. I mean, we discarded 1 to a Rummage. We've had it online with Get Excited for quite some time now. I think this Ballistic Bot is actually a lot more valuable than we're giving it credit for. I know Torek, I think, tried to go in for the kill on it a lot earlier on in the game, and then it was just stalwarted by Gravetrayal.
This I take issue with.
Just
play Decimate.
Oh yeah.
And then Get Excited Mystic Shot next turn.
Boulevard, we've gone over this every single time people play Farron. They play the Farron and then they never play the Decimates.
You can do this any way that you want to, but the fact that you're doing it by not playing Decimate feels like a slight against me.
Yeah.
How many weeks ago was we were joking about the t-shirt that just says just play the Decimate?
Just do it. Just play the card. Why? Pull the trigger, Gravetrayal. Yeah, it's we always see this though. And that's the thing with Draven Ezreal. Again, going on this decision making. Wait, what?
Well, he misses the Make It Rain.
Oh, Make It Rain just not. That's like, what is that? The 3rd time now in this tournament we've seen Make It Rain just completely whiff.
The unhighlight reel has to come back for Make It Rain. This card has not been pulling its weight again. Everybody, you know, it went back to 2 mana. We were all really excited. Oh, it's been so long since I played with Make It Rain. I remember this card fondly. But no, it's an awful card that never does what you need it to.
Until it misses every single 1 health unit. And there it is. We got the Shen emote up. And with the ignition going into next turn, we have plenty of damage to finish it off.
I am now mad that this Farron was played because neither Decimate was played. Farron didn't get to attack. He came down for nothing. That was the same as an open attack.
Anybody watching that ever plays Farron, just know that if Boulevard is watching, you need to play Decimate. You are required to play Decimate. You cannot take any other action.
And one of them does Decimate and both of them are guaranteed lethal, and you take the non-Decimate line.
There it is. See? He did it. He played the card. He played the Decimate, Boulevard.
Boulevard of House Decimate, the aggro hater.
He took the Decimate, put it on the board, slapped it on the board, and said, Torek, I'm sorry, but I'm going to the finals.